was not going to stand behind the podium because I feel very awkward. So if I look awkward, it's because I don't stand still very well. But when Peter called me, Peter and Nancy, and asked me to present with him, I love Peter, so I'll do anything with him. But I said, wait, Peter, Museum and the Web Conference, I don't do technology. I'm kind of known for low tech. And he said, I know, that's why I want you to come. So that's why he even had to put my PowerPoint out for me. So I work at the museum, and I've been at the Columbus Museum of Art for more than 13 years, and probably for the last 10, I've really been thinking a lot and questioning and challenging and bugging people and experimenting with interpretation in the galleries. And really what I'm working on is this shift. And I'm pretty strong and I push pretty hard. This shift from what I think is, at least in art museums, because that's what I know, the traditional, what I call exclusive style of interpretation, to what I'm now calling inclusive interpretation. And you'll learn more about it because I'm working on a book about it this year. So hopefully next year at this time you can read all about it. But what I mean by that really is that traditionally interpretation, we dump stuff out at people. We give them information. And I don't really think that's where we are in the 21st century. How we work on interpretation when I work with the curators and when I curate is first to question why. Why are we putting this piece of interpretation in a gallery? And what we want to do is, instead of pushing information out, is promoting or provoking or helping encourage visitors to think for themselves. We believe in critical thinking and creativity, so I want to create interpretation that helps visitors imagine and reflect and think and compare for themselves. And so when I work with curators, and I talk a lot about just writing simple labels and text, the thing I always say to them is, don't tell people what to think. Tell them what to think about. And I'm gonna let that sit with you because it's a little different. And then the next part is for us to think about the how we're gonna do it, right? When I learned about 9 or 10 years ago, reading all the great stuff we all know by John Falk and Lynn Durkin, some of the early museum research, when I read that most visitors come to museums in social groups, and they come because they want to learn from each other and have fun and maybe do a little learning about content, maybe. I walked through our traditional museum galleries and I was stunned because nowhere did we design for social learning. Nowhere did we encourage conversation, collaboration, or social learning. Nowhere. And I set out to change that. And so the what of what we do, whether it's low tech or high tech, is really comes farther on down after we figure out the why and the how we craft for social learning. So what we found at our museum, what really is successful for us, we've done a lot of testing, is a lot of low tech ideas. You probably have used these at your museum. I was trying to make a quick PowerPoint, so I squeezed a lot in, but on the left-hand side, you've all done them. You probably call them talkbacks. We call them join the conversation. Hey, it's good enough for CNN, it's good enough for us, right? And they look all different ways. I could do a whole PowerPoint on the hundreds of different ways I put join the conversations, low tech with Post-its in galleries. Or on the right-hand side, yes, we use a lot of jigsaw puzzles. They are of the works of art. People spend lots of time looking closely, having conversations, thinking critically, talking about it with puzzles. We do a lot with design, building and design opportunities, all kinds. People come together, work together, build things and design things. These ideas are always built around the works of art. They're designed to get people thinking about the works of art. And a lot of different drawing activities. So I chose 2 pictures of some more non-traditional drawing activities. Certainly we have a lot where they're drawing on a table, but what if I have people drawing each other on a large plex screen? Or, hey, Words with Friends works. What about drawing with friends? That's one of our most successful activities, I'd say. And what else we have? Games. But I said I'm low tech. I do board games. I get board games, I hack board games, I design board games, I rip off board games. If any of you grew up or have kids grew up playing the Guess Who game, don't tell Milton Bradley I hacked their game and recreated it with images from works in our collection. So everything we do, like They're customized, they're simple, they're usually inexpensive, and they're low tech. I included the top picture of a simple voting station where I ask visitors critical questions. They have to look at works of art and vote with a little token. It's highly successful. Peter had one in the book, so I put that picture in. And something that's up now, one of my exhibitions, I curated an exhibition about dogs. Something so simple as just little ring tags that are inexpensive with a bunch of different adjectives. And I just have a bucket of them at the beginning of the exhibition, say, take some, bunch of weird adjectives, go find the image of dogs that best represents this adjective. Timid, or scary, or ferocious, or whatever. They all get to our learning outcomes of looking closely, thinking critically, reflecting, comparing, getting visitors to think for themselves. So I do some technology, and actually I was excited to meet Reiner here today, Jason Reiner here today. He's helped me with some projects at our museum. Real quickly, because Peter said, you don't need to talk about technology too much, but this is an example of some experimenting that went wrong, because a lot of things we do don't succeed. These are the iterations that we did for a technology exhibition in 2014. Number one, cost me a lot of money, didn't work. Number two, cost me more money, didn't work. Finally, one day I said, you know, I'm gonna order this little gadget for $2.99 off of Amazon, put a pedestal, put this little thing where people can put their own cell phone, post it, and then do the activity, ding, 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 ding. And what we realized, and my colleagues here who works with me, is that when we don't have a big IT department who's really savvy to do a lot of stuff for us. So if we just create experiences where visitors can use their own technology, i.e. their own cell phone, we have much more success. And so that's what we're leaning into more. And so what we're doing a lot, we started 1 year ago, my colleague who's here with me, in my dog exhibition to the left, where we decided we're going to craft experiences where we put a large screen. We've tried 2 different platforms now, and we're going to try a 3rd platform starting in 2 weeks, where we invite visitors to post their images to social media, and we have the screen so they can see it live time. And on the right, as Peter said, we've been using the Guide by Cell platform for a while, but both of these at first, I'm troubled by a little bit, because they didn't get me to my learning outcomes so much. I wasn't really creating situations here at first where I was getting visitors to think critically, question, reflect, and certainly they weren't really getting, you can see from these pictures, people to talk and interact together so much. So what I'm doing now really is thinking about both of these platforms and how I can make them more conversational, collaborative, and inspire more critical thinking. And we've thought of some ways. We even tried it with if we create a space where we give people costumes and a place that's designed for them to take the picture and then post on social media, we get to more of our learning outcomes. And on the right-hand side, last year I decided to rebrand the Guide by Cell idea using that program, because I've been inviting different people into the museum to co-curate and think with me, people who look different than me, who come from different backgrounds. That's part of the inclusive nature. And they were walking through the galleries once and said, what does Guide by Cell mean? Like, that means nothing to me. You need to give me a name that means something, and they helped me rename it. We rename it Collective Voices, and now I only have people outside the museum field help bring in information. But something else we're evolving is, I caught this young couple, and it's a back picture from here. On the right, a young group of people listening. They're all like huddled around the cell phone to try to listen. And I walked up to them and said, hey gang, put it on speakerphone. They said, are we allowed to in the museum? I said, yes. And so you know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to put it on the label. Put your phone on speakerphone, share it with others, and try different ways of provoking conversation and critical thinking by the kind of content we put on there. So it's not just dumping information. That's it. That's all I need to say. Right, Peter? So, what do you think? I think that's all. Yeah, I'm going to stop there. Yeah.